Ever wonder how a moment of deep personal crisis can somehow lead to a massive professional breakthrough? Well, today, we're diving into the incredible story of Marina Markham. She's a leader who found her most powerful business philosophy not in some stuffy seminar, but of all places, in the gym.
Wow. Talk about a wake-up call, right? Just imagine your doctor looking you in the eye and saying that. This single jarring statement is really where Marina's journey kicks off. It was a massive red flag that her high-stress career wasn't just burning her out, it was doing real physical damage.
So that brings us to our first section, the wake-up call. And look, this wasn't some minor scare. This was a full-blown health crisis that pretty much forced Marina to stop and reevaluate absolutely everything.
To really get the kind of pressure she was under, you've got to understand her world. For more than 25 years, Marina's been a family wealth advisor. Now, what does that mean? It means she's responsible for the financial security of 160 different households. It's an unbelievably high-stress, high-stakes game.
You know, the first alarm bell actually rang way back in 2003 when she was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. And for years, she managed it, with diet and using the gym as her stress buster. But then the pandemic hit, and like for so many of us, those healthy habits just kind of fell apart. Her health hit a brand new low, and she knew this time she needed a different kind of help.
And this is where the story takes a really interesting turn. Because she didn't find her answer in a business book or some leadership retreat. She found it through her new personal trainer, who taught her a lesson that had nothing to do with lifting weights and everything to do with leadership.
See, Marina had dealt with trainers before. You know the type, the ones who just yell and push and make you feel totally dejected when you can't crank out another 20 push-ups. But her new trainer, Ryan, had a completely different philosophy. His approach was all about encouragement, about meeting her exactly where she was and making her want to do better. He met me where I was at. I didn't feel judged. That right there, that single shift from judgment to empathy was the entire key. Instead of feeling like a failure for what she couldn't do, she suddenly felt empowered by what she could do. And it completely unlocked her motivation, making her want to push for that one extra rep just for herself.
All right, section 3, from fitness to leadership. This is that aha moment. This is when the light bulb went off for Marina, and she realized this powerful, empathetic approach wasn't just for the gym. It was a blueprint for being a way more effective leader back at the office.
She took that lesson and applied it directly to her team. So instead of demanding perfection, she started meeting her team members where they were professionally. By creating that same non-judgmental space and just encouraging small steps forward, she brought out so much more from her people and sparked a genuine internal desire for them to improve. So armed with this new philosophy, Marina decided to tackle a real monster of a problem, an issue that had been draining her and her team for the better part of a decade.
7 years. Just think about that. For 7 straight years, a single recurring issue would pop up, cause conflict, flare up tempers. It created so much emotional baggage. It was this constant source of stress and a massive, massive drain on everyone's energy. She knew something had to give. So what'd she do? She tried a totally new technique, reverse engineering. It's actually a pretty simple but brilliant idea. Instead of starting with the problem and all the reasons it's a mess, you start with the solution. You picture the ideal outcome, the perfect end result, and then you work your way backward, step by step, to figure out how you get there. And her process was beautifully simple. First, she just envisioned the goal. She asked herself, what do I really want this to look like 2 years from now? Then she worked backward, literally mapping out a path where everyone involved could get what they wanted. And finally, she held a meeting that was focused entirely on that shared solution, not on rehashing the old conflict. And you know what? It actually worked.
Now, solving that one 7-year-long problem, it did way more than just fix a business issue. It fundamentally changed Marina's entire outlook and freed up an incredible amount of mental and emotional energy she didn't even know she was losing.
Right after that breakthrough meeting, she went for a walk and realized something felt different. The constant mental chatter, that background noise that had been living in her head for years, was just gone. In her own words, I feel so light. There's nothing in my head. I'm completely present.
The shift was just dramatic. That mental burden she had just accepted as normal for 7 years simply vanished. It's like she deleted a massive, hidden app that had been secretly draining all the battery from her phone for years.
So what do you do with all that new energy?
with all that freed up headspace? For Marina, the answer was crystal clear. She could finally focus on giving back. She remembered how tough it was starting out in her industry without many mentors, and she became determined to provide the kind of support she never really had. And this really became her new mission. For the few people who did help her early on, she felt the only true way to honor their help was to pay it forward to the next generation of leaders, to create this ripple effect of support and mentorship.
And I think that's the real takeaway here. Marina's story shows us that we are all a work in progress. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing something or how stuck you might feel, it is never, ever too late to try a new way of thinking and find your own breakthrough.
And that leaves us with one last question to really think about. Marina removed a 7-year blockage and made space for mentorship and renewed energy. So what about you? If you could remove one major blockage in your own life, what new, positive thing would you make space for?